Hey there, Internet. It's me, Broken Terrain, and I got a great video for you today. What's that you're saying? You have no money to make terrain? No problem. We're going to use garbage. What's that you say? No room to store your terrain? No problem. We're going to make this stuff fold flat. You want to see how we do it? Come along with me, and I'm going to show you right after the drop. One of the benefits of shopping at those big box stores, your Costco, your Sam's Club, your BJ's, those kind of stores, is that your products come in larger boxes and packaging. This here is a miso cup box that's going to work great for this build here. And I've got some saltine cracker box chipboard here, nice and thin and foldable. And we're going to put these pieces here together in such a way as to create some pop-up ruined buildings. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this miso box apart. Then I'm going to lay it flat, and I'm going to separate the two cornered pieces. So I'm going to have two sides and then two sides with a nice corner fold. Then I'm going to put in my measurements. I measure 1 inch increments, and that way I can get multiple floors. I can add some windows, maybe a door, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to add to your terrain. And you can see I've marked off the 3-inch and the 6-inch line. This is going to be for my floors. And this is all about being quick, fast, and very cheap. So I'm going to turn to my template box, find a door, find a window that I really like, and I'm going to be able to utilize these as a template and just quickly sketch out. So once I've added my lines to the box, I think I do a 3 and a 6 for floors, and then every inch so that I can space my door and windows, ½ inch from the bottom of each floor for the windows. Maybe should have gone a little taller, but that's what I did. And then you just trace these out. Very simple, not too complex. Of course, if you wanted to get a little more complex, you could add some surrounding brick inside the window or the door jam there. Really dress this up. But for this craft, I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to keep it fast, and I wanted to make sure that the vast majority of the craft, if not all of it, was made out of garbage. Here you can see I've cut the doorway, so scale fits just right, and now I'm going to cut all my windows in. And this is probably the longest part of the craft here, just getting all these windows cut out carefully. Again, I am not going to dress the insides of the windows up, so it's very important that I cut these out as cleanly as possible. With the windows and doors cut and the floor areas all stenciled out, I'm going to turn to my saltine box, and I'm going to utilize this for the floor. And I'm doing 2 different pieces, one with 2 stories and one with just a single story. Both work really well. And it's just up to you to utilize the folds that already exist within your chipboard. Here's a thicker piece of chipboard. This is from an ice cream cone box. You should probably stick to a thinner cardboard for the folding floors. However, this thicker chipboard does in fact work, though I expect it to wear and break at some point. However, if that happens, no big deal. You just lose the ability to fold it flat. Just hot glue it in place. Maybe add some craft sticks to strengthen it. And you just simply have, instead of a pop-up piece of terrain, now it's a permanent piece of terrain. No big deal. But for a little while here, it's going to pop up. I take the saltine, or in this case, the ice cream box, and I'm going to do 45s from the natural fold in the box. There's no reason to fight those folds. Utilize those folds when creating this pop-up terrain. And then I'm going to cut notches into both sides. So the sides are 45 degrees an angle with the fold. And once you cut those tabs out, you can trace where those tabs are on your ground line on your wall piece. The bit that we cut and measured out earlier with the windows. Here you can see I've pushed the tabs through, and once the tabs are completely through, and I found it very helpful to push the tabs completely through on one side, hot glue that in, just like this here. Don't worry about being neat. We're going to cover it up with some trim. I found it easier to glue one side in, and then you could work on putting the tabs for the other side in. Once your floors are in, and the size of your floors are kind of dictated by how much of that 45-degree line you can get from the corner. You can see I'm trimming the walls to the edge of my floor here. And just give them a rough, jagged cut, as though they were some kind of ruin from some kind of battle, a city in turmoil, as it were. Here we go, looking good. You can see I've utilized the natural bend or curve in my chipboard. The middle should curve up, and your tabs, which I recommend you reinforce with a little hot glue on the inside as well. And this is just to ensure that everything stays together a little longer, because I do believe these will break at some point. They weren't meant to do exactly this. However, if you can utilize those natural bends in your cardboard, I think they will last you for some time, and you should get a lot of use out of them. Perfect. It does fold. However, the floor there does stick up just a little bit. It doesn't pop out and lay flat and straight like I would like it to. So the way I go about fixing this is by grabbing some craft sticks. Now I'm using craft sticks purposely bought for crafting. However, if you wanted to continue with the garbage aspect, you could just simply use popsicle sticks. You won't have as large an area to clamp onto, but it should work nonetheless. You can see I've got 3 craft sticks here, 2 of which are glued on top of or with a single thin piece down the middle, and you're going to form almost a sandwich cookie of popsicle sticks. And this is going to create this little hinge here, which is going to slide over the floor, lock it into place, and give it some much needed stability. It's hard to tell from the video, but it's actually very stable, and I believe it would support some fairly heavy minis if needed. Now that we've got the ground done, we're going to decorate the outside of it with some strips. This is the same box, the same miso cup box, and I'm utilizing the flaps that I cut off from earlier. I'm going to do 1/2 inch along the floor line, and this is going to help hide the glued tabs for our floors. Just glue them on there, trim off the excess, glue the other side. And along with these 1/2 inch strips, I'm going to cut 1/4 inch strips, and I'm going to put these vertically between all the windows and framing the doors. And this is just going to give us a real quick industrial city building type look. I'm trying to create these so that they'll work with both medieval and present or future or post-apocalyptic, if you were, though no one can deny they kind of lean towards post-apocalyptic just because they're lacking brick. I cover them in a black matte Mod Podge, and mixture. However, you could probably take them outside and hit them with a spray primer. That might be a better way to go. Once I do that, I hit the accents on the outside with a khaki, and then I use my gray storm and hit the rest of the building. Now, because I've painted on the Mod Podge and the black paint, I've added a nice texture to the what was just a cardboard, and then I continue to paint in a way these vertical passes, vertical brush strokes, to create even more kind of a concrete texture. Then I utilize this stamp. I made this stamp for my pit traps, and I'm going to utilize it again, hitting it with a khaki. And you can see I've kept my colors very simple, just gray storm, just khaki. These are really all about getting fast terrain done on the super, super cheap. We're talking just some Mod Podge, black paint, and a couple of grays and a khaki. I really want this to be nice and cheap. I want anybody to be able to pull this project off. Let's dry brush with a granite gray. This is going to pull all that neat texture that the Mod Podge has laid down for us, that our paint strokes have laid down for us, and just really enforce the idea that it's concrete. This part here you can ignore if you want to go real simple, but I thought it'd be fun to do some war propaganda posters for my war-torn terrain here. So I've got a little Tinley Fight for Her propaganda poster, and a couple of fight and enlists, and some remarks from the Crown, and a couple of wanted posters. I'm going to hit these, and I sketch these. So if you don't have a printer, that's another aspect of this. If you don't have some of these more expensive fancy tools, you don't need them. These were sketched out on a piece of paper. I hit them with some colored pencils. Do they look as good as if they were printed and laid out in a computer program? No, of course they don't. But I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with that. You're going to lay these down on the table, and everybody's going to be absolutely thrilled. They're going to be pumped that you've brought some terrain to the game, and it makes all the difference. Line of sight, movement. I love terrain for fights and battles. I highly recommend you try this out. And this one here leaves very few excuses. You have almost no space for storage with these because they fold down to almost nothing. You spend almost no money because the vast majority of the project is made from trash. So I hope you give this one a try if you're if you're having those particular issues with making terrain. I just paint some white PVA on the walls to lay them down, and then once they're laid down, I very lightly coat them in some white PVA just to ensure they're really seated down there. And now I really wanted to try out some acrylic pastels. I've watched Blackmagic Craft show them off as a very cheap way to do pigment powders, and you can see this is the first time I've ever done it. Boy, oh boy, I'm probably doing it very wrong here. I just scrape some brown off with a knife, and first I smear it on with my fingertip. Then I get semi-professional and use a paper towel and just get it up in the corners there. Try to remain consistent with where I'm putting the coloring, and I must admit I really do like the effect. It adds a nice depth of color to these very simple pieces. Look at that. I love it. I'm going to go over all of them, all the areas. This is the first time I've ever tried this poor man's pigment powders, and I think I'm going to keep doing it. I really like it. Here's a dark green, and I'm going to hit this over on even the browned areas, just to give these panels just this great shifting of colors from the brown to the gray to the green with a little bit of that white highlight. And I really like the effect. Not bad for just some really cheap, really fast terrain. And here you can see I've got my two buildings. I have a 2-story and a 3-story. And they're laid out for my Space Marines there. Looking good. I'm pretty happy with this project. I know it's simple. I know it doesn't look absolutely amazing, but that's not the point of this project. This project is about speed, it's about cheapness, and it's about functionality and storage. And I think I've hit those marks. So that's it for this craft. I hope you like it. It's a little something different, very unique, but I think it's a pretty cool idea, pretty cool concept, and I hope some of you find it pretty useful out there. Don't forget, you can make terrain out of just about anything, even garbage. So if you like this video, please do me a favor and smash that like button. If you want to see more stuff like this, please hit subscribe so I can bring you new videos all the time. If you think you've got family and friends, maybe you've got other players who want to see something like this, make sure you share the video. That would really help me out. I have a subscribe star. The link is in the description of the video. I've got a merch shop where I'm selling shirts and t-shirts and all kinds of bric-a-brac. I've got an Etsy store where I'm selling terrain. Help a man out. Visit one of these links. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, like each other, love each other, and as always, craft on.